BBC One with virtual versions of our favourites. Katy Perry joins Graham Norton at 10:45, but now Charlie Brooker is in charge.
Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm Charlie Brooker and congratulations, you're through to week 9 of lockdown, as we all are. How are you coping with this at the moment, Ian?
Well, I'm very thrilled to have you on as host, obviously, the purveyor of apocalyptic vision. Presumably we get Nostradamus next week, and after that the four horsemen of the apocalypse are going to sit there and fire some jolly questions at us. I blame you.
There was a test earlier on where there were people sitting in all 4 of your houses and I was talking to 4 people in face masks. It was like I was having a breakdown. It was the most Black Mirror thing I've ever seen. And I've sat in the edit for that show. Paul, how are you?
Yes, I'm very well. I've been working on my new musical based on the life of Edgar Allan Poe, A Song, a Smile and a Premature Burial, featuring the hit single I Hear You Knocking But You Can't Get Out.
Well, on Ian's team tonight is author and mathematician Dr. Hannah Fry. Hannah, in 2017, you presented a TV show called 10 Things You Need to Know About the Future. In retrospect, should that have been 11?
Turns out, yes. Turns out it should have been.
You must be really delighted, actually, with all these, because the news is suddenly full of graphs and bar charts and everyone talking.
Yeah, but most of them are
the
wrong.
Word exponentially. It's basically, for a mathematician, this pandemic is the best thing that could have possibly happened.
Well, OK, but many of them should come with trigger warnings because, I mean, some of them actually make my eyes bleed in how wrong they are.
And on Paul's team tonight is comedian Mark Steele, who used to travel up and down the country to do local material for his Radio 4 show Mark Steele's in Town, or as it's now known, Mark Steele Super Spreader. And now that lockdown's easing up, are you looking forward to getting out there again, Mark?
Well, I am, and I'm not going to... It's all right, this, but I'm not going to pretend I enjoy it. You know these people the infuriating people who love it and go, oh, I'm having the lockdown of a lifetime. This morning I was on a falconry class on Zoom. It's just get through it and be a little bit miserable. I think that is the best way to be.
In the news this week, as the lockdown is relaxed, Larry the cat leaves Downing Street and flouts police advice by heading straight for a popular beauty spot. Don't know if it's more impressive that the cat can drive or whistle, basically, looking at that.
He's wearing a protective coat. I think my cat would think he was pretty wimpy, out there driving and still in camouflage.
I wondered how long it would be, Ian, before you referenced that bloody cat of yours. My cat this, my cat that.
Yeah.
I think you're secretly working on a collection of amusing cat anecdotes for a Christmas stocking filler book.
I wish it was secret.
Or amusing.
Following the government's confused message about whether to stay home or go out, one man tries to do both.
Moving house.
Right, let's get on with the show, and we start with the bigger stories of the week. Ian and Hannah, have a look at this.
It's Boris Johnson's first family photo. Are you one of mine?
Yeah, I've got to wash your hands of everything, really.
And Michael Gove there, looking for someone to blame. And finally, a metaphor there for thinking things through before you commit.
This is why we need schools to open.
I am not man, a number, of course, a message we can all get behind.
Having effectively persuaded us to stay at home, the government is now in the position of trying to persuade us not to stay at home anymore. And this is a bit of a problem because people got very scared and then they're staying a bit scared. So things that most people think should happen, like schools opening, we've got to open schools eventually. But everyone suddenly got very scared and said, oh, we don't want to do it now, we don't know how to do it. Are we going to be safe enough? And again, there hasn't been much of a lead in terms of saying, this is what we'll do, it'll be fine. So there are lots of things we could do. But again, no one's sure about the science. But luckily, I've got a scientist on my panel, so whatever I say, even if it's rubbish, I will blame her.
Yeah, I take full responsibility. I think the thing about a lot of this is that there's a difference between the risk to yourself as an individual and the risk to your family and the risk to the country as a whole. And while there are certain things that we can probably do, we can probably risk it as a country as a whole, people slowly going back to work. That doesn't mean that the individual level risk is non-existent, and I think that's the reason why it's just this strange contradiction. You can see your boss, but you can't see your family. Your cleaner can come around your house, but your best friend can't. It's just we're in this strange limbo between the two states.
Well, yeah, it's just been so confusing from the beginning. That's why, isn't it? At the start of it, Boris Johnson was saying, well, we must shake hands, and then changing his mind. So you must not travel unless you're going somewhere, and must stay at home at all times when you're not out, and go to work but not travel there, so you must float, and that this will come in on Monday unless Monday falls on a Monday, and then they wonder why people are confused.
Well, that made more sense, to be honest, Mark.
Primary schools in Denmark have been open for a month. How did that go?
It actually went okay. So there was a bit of an increase in transmission initially, and then it stabilised again. So actually it looks like so far it hasn't had the terrifying effect that many people fear.
What is one of the more confusing aspects of I've just noticed here's a question I should have asked you earlier. What's one of the more confusing aspects of the government's Back to Normal campaign? It is I'll give you the answer. It's the planned return to school of primary-aged children on June the 1st. What did Michael Gove say about this?
You're accusing the government of being confused, and you've just given us the question after we've given you the answer.
If you won't all say things in the right order for the pieces of paper they've given me, remotely from your flipping homes on the other side of the internet, within a few minutes on Andrew Marr, Michael Gove made two claims. Do you know what the first claim was?
I'm not a sex offender.
I don't think that... Well, I imagine he may have said that.
But he didn't know, did he?
There was no risk of sending children back to school. And then he said there was a risk.
He said, yes, teachers will be safe. And then a few moments later, he said, no, I can't guarantee it, that no teacher will be infected. What did people do with their newfound freedom this week?
They went to the Lake District and to the Peak District and to wander around in Wales and Cornwall.
They flocked to various beauty spots throughout the country, including Dorset's famous beach at Durdle Door. Let's hope they disinfected the Durdle Door handle.
Some people are so brilliantly. There's a bloke I heard on a radio phone in, and he said, I'm 83, and he said, and I'm going down the market stall same as normal, because look at me, there's nothing wrong with me. And I thought, well, yeah, but there's something about the nature of disease you've not quite grasped, that even with really bad diseases, you are generally quite fine up until the moment you get the disease. There are no diseases. I mean, I have to ask Hannah for confirmation of this. As far as I know, there are no diseases so bad they make you ill before you get the disease, you stupid idiot.
I can confirm that's science fact, by the way. That's definitely science fact.
Brilliant. That's one fact we can lock in. Did you see some official police advice to pedestrians?
Don't walk on the black part of the zebra crossing. Hop over it.
You're not a million miles away, actually.
Oh, really? No. I'm in Kent.
It just sounds like you are. No, it was please don't walk in the road to avoid passing pedestrians. They added momentarily crossing paths with someone won't give you COVID-19. Although I thought that was exactly what the Trace and Track app is meant to be detecting.
Isn't it 15 momentarily contacts? Isn't it about that? When it says momentarily, is it 15 seconds?
Yeah, so like the app pings, but if you're close to someone who's got it and it pings once, that doesn't mean that you then have to quarantine. It's like they add up an amount of risk the more time you spend near someone who ends up being positive.
Why can't they just wear sirens on their heads all the time then, people who've got it? No, I've been out jogging and I whenever I see pedestrians coming, I have run into the road because I know joggers have got a really bad reputation at the moment. And also I think it will cheer them up if they see an amusing road accident. So I'm doing my bit. Oh, there's another piece of police news this week, actually. Top copper Cressida Dick said something.
Cressida Dick.
Cressida.
Cressida, which sounds better. Cressida Dietsch.
She's not an influencer.
No, it sounds like, yes, an element of French philosophy to it.
Cressida Dietsch.
I am the philosophical police chief.
She said something about the lockdown. It was quite philosophical what she said. Do you know what it was?
Yeah, she said people keep getting my name wrong. You could have called her Clarissa Knob, so I suppose we're on to a winner in some respects.
No, she pointed out, she revealed that it's easier to police the streets when they're empty.
Yeah.
Because apparently crime in London has dropped 35% and they've been able to keep tabs on 1,000 violent offenders across London since the lockdown started. Although, I mean, crime might have fallen, but technically the number of prisoners in Britain rose by 60 million on the 23rd of March. And what's she doing about that? This week it emerged that Keir Starmer is the owner of a donkey sanctuary. This was thanks to an attempt by the Mail on Sunday to smear Keir Starmer by suggesting he owned land that could be worth up to £10 million. Why do you think the press have got it in for Keir Starmer?
Well, I think it's because his popularity rating has suddenly gone up. And this is partly to do with the fact that he's performed quite well in the House of Commons. So there is a certain worry that the Labour Party have come up with a leader who isn't totally unelectable. And that really is not playing the game. The papers describe Starmer as having sort of unbelievable, brilliant forensic courtroom skills because he asks questions like, it's not going very well, is it? And don't you think it'd be better if lots of people weren't dying? I mean, these are very unfair questions, again, for a Labour leader to point out. I mean, during Prime Minister's question time. It's very, very unfair.
Although that last time they'd made most of the stuff up about Corbyn, whatever he did wrong, didn't they? You know, Corbyn. Now Corbyn's going to force all your pets to be Muslim, and now they've come up with one for him. And if they catch him eating a bacon sandwich in the wrong way,
they're not exactly daring to dream, though, are they? If the best they can come up with is he owns a field. He owns a field, the field-owning bastard. What's Jacob Rees-Mogg's solution to the problem?
Jacob's solution is that we should have everyone coming back to the Commons because then people will congregate round Boris and make him feel better and cheer. And so, therefore, he won't not be able to answer the questions anymore. His spirits will revive with people going, hurrah. And then he'll answer these questions with incredible forensic brilliance, with attention to detail and all the things he's known for.
Yes, you're right. He is demanding, Jacob Rees-Mogg is demanding MPs go back to set an example. But really, it's to provide the laughter track that Boris is clearly missing.
Aren't we all?
just to keep you sort of your mental flow ready, we're going to play a quick game of bird, swan, hamster, cat. Yeah?
Ray!
Okay.
I'll show you an animal. You have to tell me what the animal is and what they've got to do with this whole virus situation. First up, Hannah, what is this?
Swan.
This is I'll level with you. This is the easier round.
This woman's a scientist. You
I get
insulted
a
her.
point?
What is this?
It's a swan. The trickier
Don't
part
tell her
is
the
what-
answer.
what's
She
it-
might not know.
It is a swan. She said it was a swan.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
What's it got to do with coronavirus?
Is swan-upping isn't happening.
Well, it's always been a dirty practice anyway.
People are staying at home and not going out and swan-upping.
Dirty bastards.
Do you know what swan upping is?
Yeah, I do. I saw a bloke do it behind a shed once.
Yeah, I've seen it on the dark web.
The dark webbed foot.
It's an annual census of the Queen's swans.
Ah.
It's counting. It's a mathematical exercise.
Yes, you should be well across this being a mathematician.
I can only apologise.
It's the annual counting of the Queen's swans. It's been cancelled, so she's just going to have to struggle by for a whole year without knowing how many swans she's got. We're all in this together.
oh, there's one thing after another, isn't it? First Prince Andrew, and then that.
Ian, take a look at this and tell us how it relates to the coronavirus. What animal is this?
Oh, for God's sake.
It's a cat, yeah, and I'm not going to mention my own cat, clearly, because I don't want to annoy Paul. It's just not worth it.
No.
I'm not going to bring Colin up at all. So, cats, can they give you the virus? There was a story about that early on. No, they can't. They can give each other.
Don't kiss your cat. Don't kiss your cat. That's the advice, because I'm sorry to break this to you, Ian. Don't kiss your cat. That's the advice from a scientific study in Australia, which is trying to establish whether cat-to-human transmission of the virus is possible.
So if you can't kiss your cat, what's Ian going to do on a Friday night?
Well, he's got to use common sense hygiene until we know more about the virus. When you get the all clear, you can get off with it as much as you like.
Shouldn't they just say, don't kiss the cat for scientific reasons, but you're not supposed to kiss your cat?
No, you're meant to allow the cat to make the first move.
Consent is important, even in the animal kingdom.
Yes, it's etiquette.
Yeah, etiquette. Mark's got exactly the right answer. It's etiquette. The cat kisses you, all bets are off. But before that, no kissing.
We're keeping 6 foot apart in this house, I tell you.
Yes, this is week 9 of lockdown. It's thought lorry drivers coming through the Channel Tunnel may be exempt from quarantine restrictions, and presumably so will all the illegal immigrants in their lorry, because we're going to need them to pick the fruit. Speaking of which, Prince Charles has launched a campaign this week appealing to recruit an army of fruit pickers. Charles said, food doesn't appear by magic. Well, it does for you, Charles. You just ring a bell. Also this week, police broke up a protest in Hyde Park, which was calling for an end to the lockdown and the banning of 5G. The most high-profile arrest there was of Piers Corbyn, but only because they couldn't fit Eamon Holmes into the van. Paul and Mark, bit of a mix-up this week, OK? Bit of a change. Rather than a video montage, you get to play a fun game.
Ooh,
Isn't that exciting? Everyone's keen, of course, to get back to doing what they enjoy, but how will those activities have to change in the world of the new normal? Well, let's find out as I ask, if you want to do that, what's the caveat?
That's terrible.
Paul and Mark, filming a TV drama. If you want to do that, what's the caveat?
Is it okay? So filming TV series, I know that instead of exterior sequences, they're going to have a green screen, and the actors have to sort of spend, be the appropriate 6 feet apart. Is that the idea?
Do they have to be in different rooms? So EastEnders will be like one person on Zoom going, shut it. And then someone else 100 miles away going, I'm going to turn you off and not re-invite you to the meeting.
According to new guidance, actors are going to have to keep 2 metres apart, film outdoors as much as possible. So shooting scenes like this recent one from EastEnders is going to be quite a challenge. Because the cast have to stand so far apart, it's mainly going to just be footage of people bellowing at each other in EastEnders, so no change there then. It's another new guideline that TV stars are going to have to drive themselves to the studio from now on, which is going to mean a lot of glancing at the watch and nervous pacing up and down for deck. Here's another thing you want to do, playing Test cricket. If you want to do that, what's the caveat?
Do you have to prove you know all of the rules before you're allowed play?
Or is the ball delivered so a bloke comes
Yes.
up, and then he has to stand back 6 feet and then delivers the ball, and then the batsman comes.
Yeah, he
and
has to
hits
sign for it as well. He has to sign for it.
Yeah.
They're going to be banned from using saliva to shine the ball. Do you know what they're going to be allowed to use instead?
Lucozade.
Is it sandpaper?
No. No, it's sweat. Sweat is less disgusting, apparently. It's hoped that Test cricket will resume with a match against the West Indies on July the 8th, although what else won't be allowed?
Spectators.
Absolutely right. There won't be any spectators, which is a shame because it means thousands of cricket fans won't get the chance to chat amongst themselves and look at their phones. Sticking with spectators, do you know what a South Korean football team did to recreate a crowd during a recent match?
Oh, yes. There were sex dolls, apparently, which the football club denied, but amongst the keenest supporters, they recognised the product.
You're right. They randomly scattered sex dolls around the stands. There's a photo of it here. It's charming.
They could become more realistic since my day. I mean, I've never seen one of them before.
The club owners denied they were sex dolls, saying they were actually premium mannequins, although they had to admit that several of the premium mannequins appeared to be holding up signs advertising porn sites. As you can see here. Apparently those are adverts for porn sites. It's led to lots of complaints and a transfer request from Kyle Walker. Restaurants and cafes are coming up with ingenious ways to abide by social distancing rules so they can remain open for business. What is one Worcester cafe owner surrounding his customers with?
Oh, is this the way he's making them wear pool noodles on their head?
What's a pool noodle?
It's a cross between a pullover and a poodle.
It's a brightly coloured foam
Noodle.
a giant. It's like you hold on to.
And you put it in the pool. So, there you go.
There you go. Look.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's a cafe in Germany. That's to encourage people to remain apart.
Are they meant to look like swastikas? What's going on there?
That was Germany. This is Worcester. It's a cafe owner called Francini Osorio. He's been busy putting up 35 shower curtains. Here they are. This is what it's like in his cafe. Those two have been waiting ages for their food, but the waiter can't find the opening in the curtains. Time now for round 2, the Board of Education. Normally at this time of year, students would be sitting their exams, so we're going to help them out by grilling you. Ian, you are up first. Your subject is history. Keeping it topical, what did we learn about Henry VIII this week?
He's dead.
He is dead.
Whenever he went on a long journey or campaign, he took his own palace with him. He had a flat pack palace. This was easily the most interesting story of the week. And wherever he was, they put it up, and it was made out of wood, but it had brick effect on it. So he felt he was in a little castle. And it had a brilliant description of the windows were made not out of glass, but out of horn, which I thought, given it was Henry VIII, would probably have sort of kept him in the mood for various wife expeditions.
This week, historians have revealed that Henry wasn't a fan of camping, so he used to travel to battles with an easily erectable structure to stay in, or as the Daily Mail put it, a flat-pack palace based on his real home. So it turns out Henry VIII was the first person to live in a mock Tudor house.
Do you reckon that's the reason why Henry VIII got divorced so much? Because of weekends at medieval IKEA?
And they were crawling around the floor going, where's the key for the battlements?
I reckon it would come in the form of like a Bayeux tapestry. Basically, you'd be looking at like with two guys holding a flipping...
Get all the way to the end and then realise there's a tower upside down.
It was captured on the, I guess, the equivalent of CCTV at the time, an illustration of the Siege of Boulogne, which may feature Henry's flat-pack palace. Here's the illustration. Can you spot the palace?
Yes. Top right, next to the bigger palace, just below the tree.
This is like a new BBC 4 game show.
Yeah.
Are we looking for...
Where's Henry?
Where's Walloon?
That's it, apparently. Although why it's not the other palace on the other side, I don't know. Paul, have a look at the blackboard. This is your subject.
Yes.
Art.
Right.
I'm going to show you a piece of art.
Yes.
Wonderful piece of art. I'd like you to identify the subject.
OK.
Oh.
Well, I mean, this is obviously the same artist that had a very good head of Ian last week. I mean, I do have teeth, so I don't know why. That's terrible.
That is, in fact, You, Paul, by artist Penny Lally. Luckily for you, Paul, it's not the only one.
Well,
You see, that's brilliant.
I wish I hadn't complained about the first one now.
I think that's very flattering.
Well, my hair's not quite that dark and I haven't got a bum on my face, but other than that, it's perfect. Let's face it, you usually see a picture like that with the words, police are looking for a man in his late 60s. The phrase is, be careful what you beg for.
What did Katrina Britton from Rugby do with £5 worth of pasta this week?
Ooh.
Well, if she didn't make a face of me, I'm happy.
Did she build a sculpture? Did she make something practical? Did she make a rubbish birthday card like a 5-year-old would?
She was unwilling to pay £160 for this chandelier. So she recreated it herself using £5 worth of pasta. And here it is.
Oh, that's actually quite good.
It's made from conchigli pasta shells.
Yeah.
So she saved herself a few pennies there.
Hey.
Don't laugh, Ian. It'll only encourage more of the same. I think of all the objects that we've seen in the last 10 minutes, that's the one that resembles me the most.
Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Welsh Springer Spaniel Club Newsletter. You know, it's very hard to put it down, but sometimes it's just for the best. Man in Yorkshire claims his collection of 14,200. What is a world record?
Speeding fines.
Toilet rolls. Hoarding bastard.
Man in Yorkshire claims his collection of 14,200 gripes is a world record.
The answer is crisp packets. Crisp packets, obviously. It's Gary Key from Yorkshire who spent 8 years collecting crisp packets, which he then rolls into tiny balls and collects. Gary's collection of thousands of empty crisp packets is indeed a world record, although admittedly the second largest collection is 4, and that's only because I haven't put my recycling out. Next, the monthly Welsh Springer Spaniel gathering saw unusually high numbers thanks to what?
The Welsh Springer cat gathering being on the same day due to a booking error.
Is it just a massive bone?
I beg your pardon? Thanks to Priti Patel doing the numbers on the door.
The answer is, in fact, obviously, 2 new people from Cardiff turning up.
Very good.
The article also revealed that the walk ended with a pint in the dog-friendly Prince of Wales, not to be confused with the child-friendly Duke of York, which is a pub. It's another pub. I'm just naming a pub. Next, man breaks into museum to what?
Man breaks into museum to make an exhibition of himself.
This man breaks into museum to take selfies with the T-Rex skeleton.
Is that Mark Bolan?
And finally, Gucci's new £675 handbag looks like what?
Looks like Paul. It was designed by an artist to look like Paul.
Yeah. Nicole Kidman.
Does it just look like shit?
Looks like bargain compared to pasta chandelier.
The answer is Gucci's new £675 handbag looks like a builder's rubble tub. Just to decipher that, this week Gucci unveiled this new bag, which was immediately compared to this bag used for builder's rubble.
Yeah.
There you go.
It does look like shit.
The worst thing about the Gucci bag is 675 quid is just an estimate. So the final scores are Paul and Mark have 5.
Hey.
Ian and Hannah have 6.
Hey.
Oh, thank you, Hannah. You see, that's what happens if you have a scientist on board.
On that note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Hannah Fry, Paul Merton and Mark Steele, and I leave you with the news that as Boris Johnson plans to visit Berlin for a pandemic summit, Angela Merkel is looking forward to explaining the health check protocols for arrivals from Britain. Good night.
Peter Kay's car share up next, and I really hope Forever FM's celebrity in a toaster is Tony Hadley. Then it's Friday on the virtual sofa. Katy Perry is among Graham Norton's guests here at 10:45.
Ten unlikely travellers, 16 countries.